I, 29F, need some outside perspective because I'm starting to question everything about my relationship. I've been with my boyfriend, 30M, for 3 years, and we moved in together last year. We met through mutual friends at a birthday party, and everything seemed perfect at first. He was attentive, caring, and we shared similar interests in music and outdoor activities. We both had established friend groups and were always respectful of each other's friendships. My boyfriend has this female friend, Carol, 34F, who he's known since college. They met in their senior year when they worked on some tech project together. According to him, they stayed close friends after graduation and even worked at the same company for a while. When we first started dating, he mentioned her quite a bit, talking about their inside jokes and shared memories. I didn't think much of it because I have close male friends myself, and I've always believed men and women can be platonic friends. The first time I met Carol was about 2 months into our relationship. My boyfriend invited me to join their regular friend group meetup at their favorite bar. When we arrived, Carol was already there with some other friends. She rushed over excitedly when she saw my boyfriend, but her entire demeanor changed when she noticed me standing next to him. The enthusiasm drained from her face, and when my boyfriend introduced us, she shook my hand with an uncomfortably tight grip, digging her nails into my skin. I tried to brush it off as nervousness or awkwardness. Throughout that evening, Carol completely ignored my existence. She would talk across me to my boyfriend, share inside jokes that excluded me, and even seemed annoyed when I sat next to him. At one point, she actually tried to squeeze herself between us on the booth seat, claiming she couldn't hear him properly from where she was sitting. She left halfway through the evening without saying goodbye to anyone, but sent my boyfriend a text right after saying she wasn't feeling well. He spent the next 20 minutes texting her to make sure she was okay. I tried to be understanding at first. Not everyone clicks immediately, and maybe she was just protective of her friendship. But things only got worse from there. Every time we were at group gatherings, Carol would find ways to subtly put me down. She'd make comments about my job as a graphic designer, saying things like, "Oh, that's so cute that you draw for a living," or "It must be nice to have such a relaxing job while the rest of us work in the real world." She'd also make snide remarks about my appearance, like "You're so brave to wear that outfit," or "I wish I had your confidence to go out without makeup." My boyfriend never seemed to notice these digs. When I'd bring it up later, he'd say I was being too sensitive or that Carol was just joking around. He'd tell me that's just how she is with everyone, but I noticed she never treated anyone else in our friend group that way. She had a special kind of passive-aggressive behavior reserved just for me. Things got even more uncomfortable when Carol started showing up at our apartment unannounced. She'd bring coffee for my boyfriend or drop off books she thought he'd like. Sometimes she'd come by late in the evening because she was in the neighborhood and wanted to share some work gossip. My boyfriend never saw anything wrong with this, saying I should be happy his friends felt comfortable enough to visit. About a year ago, I decided I couldn't handle the constant tension anymore. I stopped going to events where I knew Carol would be present. This meant missing out on a lot of group activities, but it felt better than dealing with her hostile behavior. My boyfriend still sees her regularly, usually once or twice a week for coffee or lunch. They text constantly, and he always jumps to respond to her messages, even during our date nights. I started noticing other concerning behaviors too. Carol would tag my boyfriend in old photos from their college days, usually late at night. She'd comment on his social media posts within minutes, always with inside jokes or references to their past. When he got a promotion at work, she showed up at our apartment with his favorite cake, the same kind I had planned to surprise him with that evening. The situation reached a breaking point last week. My boyfriend had fallen asleep on the couch while watching TV, and his phone was open on the coffee table. A message from Carol popped up with a heart emoji, and I couldn't help but look. Their conversation showed messages spanning back months, filled with flirty comments and inside jokes. He had written about thinking of her during his business trip and missing their lunch dates. There were late-night conversations about their college days and comments about how well they understood each other. I didn't confront him immediately because I felt numb. Part of me wonders if I'm overreacting. Maybe this is normal behavior for long-term friends? But then I think about how he's never mentioned any past romantic history with Carol, despite their obvious closeness. I've tried bringing up the nature of their relationship before, but he always gets defensive and accuses me of being jealous and insecure. I'm at a point where I feel completely disrespected in my own relationship. I've tried being understanding, I've tried backing off, and I've tried talking to him about it. Nothing has changed. If anything, they've gotten closer while I feel more and more like an outsider in my own relationship. I don't want to be the girlfriend who gives ultimatums about friendships, but I also can't continue living like this. I need advice on how to approach this situation. Should I confront him about the messages? Should I try talking to Carol directly? Or should I just accept that this relationship isn't working and move on? I've invested 3 years of my life here, and we live together, so it's not a simple decision to make. Am I being unreasonable for feeling this way about their friendship? Any advice would be appreciated because I'm really struggling to figure out what to do next. Update 1 first, I want to thank everyone who responded to my original post. Your comments helped me realize I wasn't overreacting, and gave me the courage to finally confront this situation head-on. After reading all your advice, I spent several days planning how to approach my boyfriend about everything. I wrote down specific examples of Carol's behavior and their inappropriate interactions, so I wouldn't get flustered during the conversation. Last Saturday, I asked him to sit down with me after dinner to talk about something important. I started by explaining how their relationship made me feel like an outsider in my own relationship. I brought up specific incidents, like the time Carol showed up at midnight because she was passing by, we live 45 minutes from her place, or when she interrupted our anniversary dinner with an emergency that turned out to be computer trouble. I mentioned how she consistently undermined me in group settings and how he never defended me. His initial reaction was to stare at his phone and act disinterested. When I mentioned the text messages I'd seen, his whole demeanor changed. He sat up straight and accused me of invading his privacy by looking at his phone. I reminded him that the messages had popped up while his phone was open on the table, but he wasn't listening. He started raising his voice, saying I was trying to control him and isolate him from his friends. The argument escalated when I asked about their past relationship. He kept insisting they were just friends, until he accidentally said something about that summer when we were together. He caught himself immediately, but I'd heard it clearly. When I pressed him about it, he got defensive and tried to change the subject. I stayed calm and asked him again, point blank, if they had ever dated. After several minutes of avoiding the question, he finally admitted that yes, they had dated for 6 months during their last year of college. According to him, they broke up because they wanted different things. He was moving to a different city for work and she was planning to travel. He swore they decided to remain friends and that nothing romantic had happened between them since. When I asked why he'd spent 3 years lying about their past, he claimed he didn't think it was relevant and didn't want to complicate things. He tried to turn it around on me, saying I should be grateful he was so honest about it now. That's when I lost my cool. I told him lying by omission was still lying, and that his behavior with Carol had been completely inappropriate given their history. He then revealed something that made everything click. Apparently, Carol had reached out to him about getting back together just a few months before he met me. He claimed he turned her down, but they agreed to remain close friends. When I asked if this was why she treated me so badly, he got defensive again and said I was imagining things and creating drama. The conversation got worse from there. He started bringing up my past relationships, saying I was projecting my insecurities onto him. He mentioned times I'd been out with male friends, trying to accuse me of double standards. The difference, which I pointed out, was that I'd always been open about my past relationships and maintained appropriate boundaries with my friends. By the end of the night, we weren't even discussing the same issues anymore. He kept circling back to me snooping through his phone, while completely ignoring the real problems, his lies, the inappropriate boundaries, and Carol's behavior toward me. When I tried to explain how hurt I was by years of deception, he actually said, "Well, if you're so unhappy, maybe you should leave." I took that as my cue and packed a bag to stay with my best friend for a few days. I needed space to think, and clearly, we weren't going to resolve anything that night. Since then, he's been sending me mixed messages, 1 minute apologizing and saying he misses me, the next accusing me of overreacting and trying to control him. The most interesting development has been Carol's reaction to our fight. Somehow, she found out about everything within hours, which says a lot about their relationship, and she's been on a social media rampage. She's posted several vague updates about toxic girlfriends and how some people can't handle strong friendships. Several mutual friends have liked these posts, including some people I thought were my friends too. She even had the nerve to text me directly, saying she never meant to cause problems and that I should work on my insecurities. I haven't responded to her or to my boyfriend's messages. I've been focusing on clearing my head and figuring out what I want to do next. My best friend thinks I should end the relationship, pointing out that my boyfriend only admitted to his past with Carol when cornered, and he's shown no real remorse for lying. She believes he's been gaslighting me this whole time, making me feel crazy for having valid concerns about their relationship. I'm still staying at my friend's place, trying to decide my next move. Part of me wants to believe we can work through this if he's truly honest about everything and sets proper boundaries with Carol. But another part of me knows that's unlikely to happen, given how he's handled everything so far. I'll update again once I've figured out what I'm going to do. Right now, I just feel drained and disappointed that someone I trusted could lie to me for so long about something so important. Update 2: Things have taken a dramatic turn since my last update, and not for the better. I'm still staying at my friend's place, But a lot has happened that has made me realize just how deep this deception goes. Over the past few weeks, I've been receiving messages from various people in our friend group. At first, they were checking if I was okay, which seemed nice until I realized why they were really reaching out. Apparently, Carol has been spreading her own version of events to anyone who will listen. According to her, I'm an unstable, jealous girlfriend who's been making up stories about her and my boyfriend. She's telling people that I've been sending her threatening messages, I haven't contacted her at all, and that I'm trying to destroy her reputation and her friendship with my boyfriend. What hurt more than Carol's lies was discovering that my boyfriend has been supporting her version of events. He's been telling our friends that I'm having some sort of breakdown and that he's really worried about my mental state. This is especially rich coming from someone who lied about his romantic history with Carol for 3 years. He's somehow turned my legitimate concerns about their inappropriate relationship into evidence of my supposed instability. The most eye-opening information came from Sarah, one of Carol's former close friends who reached out to me last week. Sarah and Carol had a falling out 2 years ago, but she felt compelled to warn me after hearing what was happening. According to Sarah, this isn't the first time Carol has done something like this. She has a pattern of pursuing men in relationships, particularly ex-boyfriends, while maintaining the appearance of being just a close friend. Sarah shared screenshots of conversations from around the time my boyfriend and I started dating. In these messages, Carol openly discussed wanting to win him back, saying they were meant to be together and that their timing was finally right. She talked about how my boyfriend was her one that got away and how she regretted not moving cities with him when they first dated. She even had a plan to show him what he was missing by being the perfect friend while making his new girlfriend, me, look bad in comparison. When I showed these screenshots to my boyfriend, his reaction was telling. Instead of being angry at Carol's manipulation, he dismissed it as old drama and accused me of digging up the past to create problems. He said people say silly things when they're emotional, and that those messages were from before she got to know and respect our relationship. When I pointed out her ongoing behavior contradicted this, he shut down the conversation. I also discovered that he's been lying about how often they meet. While he told me they only had coffee or lunch once a week, multiple friends have mentioned seeing them together almost daily. One friend even saw them having dinner at a romantic restaurant last week, the same restaurant where we had our first date. When I confronted him about this, he claimed they just happened to choose that place randomly and accused me of having people spy on him. The most frustrating part is how they've managed to twist the narrative. Several mutual friends have stopped speaking to me, believing that I'm the problematic one in this situation. They see Carol as the supportive friend helping my boyfriend through a difficult time with his unstable girlfriend. My boyfriend has been playing the victim, telling everyone how hard it is to deal with my paranoid accusations while trying to maintain a friendship he values. I tried reaching out to a couple of close friends from the group to explain my side, but they've already made up their minds. One actually told me that if multiple people are saying the same thing about me, maybe I should consider that they're right. It's infuriating how effectively Carol and my boyfriend have managed to gaslight not just me, but our entire social circle. Yesterday, I found out they attended a party together at a mutual friend's house, a party I wasn't invited to because people felt it would be too awkward with my current mental state. Apparently, they spent the whole evening sitting close together, with Carol comforting my boyfriend over how difficult this situation has been for him. The hypocrisy is astounding. I've stopped trying to defend myself to people who have already decided I'm the villain in this story. Instead, I'm focusing on documenting everything and saving all messages and screenshots. My friend suggested this might be important later, especially if their behavior escalates further. At this point, I'm not even sure what I'm more hurt by, my boyfriend's betrayal or the ease with which our friends believe the worst about me. I've started looking for my own apartment because it's becoming clear that this situation isn't going to improve. I'll update again when there are more developments, but right now I'm just trying to protect my mental health and figure out my next steps. Update 3. It's been 3 months since my last update, and I can finally say I'm in a much better place. A lot has happened, and I want to share how everything unfolded. 2 weeks after my last post, I finally moved out of our shared apartment. The situation had become unbearable. My boyfriend and Carol were practically inseparable, claiming they were supporting each other through this difficult time. They were spotted together at restaurants, movies, and parties, always sitting close and looking very intimate. When confronted about this, they'd insist nothing inappropriate was happening and that they were just good friends helping each other through a tough situation. The final breaking point came when I discovered they had planned a weekend getaway together to clear their heads. They booked a cabin at the same lakeside resort where we had celebrated our second anniversary. When I objected to this, my boyfriend exploded, saying I was still trying to control him even though we were technically separated. He said I was forcing him to choose between his best friend and me, and that I was being unreasonable about their friendship. I made the choice simple for him. I waited until he was at work, packed all my things, and left my key on the kitchen counter. I also left a short note telling him not to contact me again. Within a week, I heard through mutual friends that Carol had moved into our old apartment. Their excuse was that she was just helping with rent since I had moved out suddenly. They're now telling everyone that their friendship naturally deepened because I drove them together with my paranoid behavior. The most surprising part has been watching our social circle's reaction to all this. Several friends who initially believed their lies have started reaching out to apologize. It turns out seeing them living together so quickly after our breakup made people question their story. One friend admitted she had seen them kissing at a bar just 2 weeks after I moved out, which confirmed what I had suspected all along. I also received an interesting message from Carol's ex-roommate. Apparently, Carol had been planning this for months. She had already started moving her things into a storage unit 2 months before our breakup, telling her roommate she was preparing for an opportunity. She had also been steadily getting rid of furniture, claiming she was planning to move abroad, when in reality she was making space to move in with my ex. Some mutual friends try to play peacemaker, suggesting we all try to be civil since we share the same social circle. I declined. I've blocked both of them everywhere and have no interest in maintaining any connection. I moved to a different neighborhood with my best friend, who has been my rock through all of this. I also started a new job at a design agency across town, which has been incredibly fulfilling. The most vindicating moment came last week when I ran into my ex's sister at a coffee shop. She hugged me and apologized for how everything played out. She told me she had always seen through Carol's act and had warned her brother that he was making a huge mistake. She also mentioned that their parents are disappointed in how he handled everything, especially since they had been hoping we would get married. While it still hurts sometimes to think about the 3 years I invested in that relationship, I realize now that I dodged a bullet. I deserve better than someone who would gaslight me, lie to me, and choose another woman over me. Some nights are still difficult, but I'm proud of myself for standing my ground and not accepting their manipulation. I've started dating again recently, taking things slow and being upfront about my boundaries. If nothing else, this experience has taught me what red flags to look out for and how to value myself more. I won't be accepting breadcrumbs of respect or compromising my self-worth for anyone again. That's all for now. I don't plan to post any more updates as I'm focusing on moving forward with my life. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this journey. Your advice and kind words helped more than you know.